welcome. If you're here, you want to get past the headlines, right?
Right, to really understand something new, quickly.
Well, today we've got something pretty fascinating, a totally new structure of light.
Yep, it's called optical rotatum.
And our source is a research paper hot off the press in Science Advances.
From applied physicists over at Harvard Seas, Federico Capasso's group, Ahmed Dora and Alfonso Palmieri are key names here too.
So our mission for this deep dive, figure out what optical rotatum is, how they even made it, and, why we should care, why it's interesting.
Let's jump in.
Okay, optical rotatum, you said it's a new type of optical vortex beam.
That's the starting point, yeah.
I usually picture those like corkscrews of light, right? Spiraling along.
Exactly. They have that consistent spiral shape as they travel.
So what makes this rotatum thing different?
Well, the twist isn't consistent. It changes.
Changes how?
The rate of the twist varies as the light beam moves through space. So in some regions, it might twist faster, in others, slower.
Oh, okay. So not a rigid corkscrew.
Not at all. It creates these really complex, evolving patterns as it propagates. Think more like, well, a dynamic morphing spiral.
A morphing spiral. I like that. The paper mentions it looks a bit like spirals in nature.
It does, yeah. That's actually a really interesting connection.
Like what kind of spirals?
Think of a nautilus shell, maybe, how it grows outwards in that curve.
Okay, yeah. Or like a fern unfurling.
Precisely. Those kinds of fluid, continuously changing shapes, and that visual similarity is part of the story behind the name.
Ah, the name, optical rotatum. Sounds very physicsy.
It is. It has roots in classical mechanics, actually, Newtonian physics.
Okay, break that down. What does rotatum mean in physics?
Well, in classical mechanics, rotatum refers to the rate of change of torque over time.
Torque being the twisting force.
Right. Like when you spin something, torque gets it spinning. Rotatum would be about how that twisting force itself is changing, speeding up the spin, slowing it down, that kind of thing.
So how does that apply to light?
They applied that concept to the light's corkscrew shape. The optical rotatum name emphasizes that the torque, the twist associated with that spiral, isn't constant.
It's changing.
It's changing as the beam travels. It's the rate of change of the twist that's the new handle they've got on it.
Got it. So it's not just that it twists, but how that twist evolves. And this came from Federico Capasso's lab at Harvard.
Yes, that's right.
How did they actually, make this stuff?
Well, Capasso described it as a new behavior of light. Consisting of an optical vortex that propagates through space and changes in unusual ways.
Okay.
And he hinted at applications, too, saying it's potentially useful for manipulating small matter.
Manipulating matter. We'll come back to that. But first, this connection to nature you mentioned, it gets even deeper, right?
Yeah.
Something about the Fibonacci sequence.
Ah, yes. This is, I think, one of the coolest parts.
Yeah.
They found that the orbital angular momentum of the beam...
Which is like the amount of spin it carries as it moves forward.
Kind of, yeah. Think of it like rotational momentum. They found this orbital angular momentum actually grows in a specific mathematical pattern.
And that pattern is?
The Fibonacci sequence.
Wow. You mean 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. That sequence.
The very same one. The one you see in sunflower seeds, pine cones, tree branches.
Nautilus shells again. That's incredible. Light behaving according to this natural mathematical rule.
It really is. Ahmed Dora, the lead author, apparently called it one of the unexpected highlights.
I bet.
Yeah, and he hopes it might get mathematicians interested to study these patterns more. Look for a universal signature.
It makes you wonder what else is linked like that.
Definitely. So you got some deep connections between light and, well, the rules governing natural growth.
So how did they engineer light to follow Fibonacci numbers? What tech did they use?
Okay, so this builds on work they've done before with metasurfaces.
Metasurfaces, those super thin materials with tiny structures on them.
Exactly. Nanostructures designed to manipulate light very precisely. They'd already used them to control things like polarization.
The direction light waves wiggle.
Right. And also that orbital angular momentum we just talked about.
Okay.
But this new work adds another layer, another degree of freedom, as they put it.
More control.
Much more. They can now control the spatial torque continuously as the light beam travels.
Continuously.
That's the key. Alfonso Palmieri, another researcher, said, we show even more versatility of control, and we can do it continuously.
So finer tuning of the light's properties than before.
Precisely that. Shaping the light's fundamental twistiness in real time, basically.
Okay, so we have this new light form, dynamic twist, Fibonacci connection.
Yeah.
What's the payoff? What are the potential uses?
Well, the big one they mention is manipulating tiny things.
Small matter, like Capasso said.
Yeah, like colloids, microscopic particles suspended in a liquid.
How would the rotatum help there?
The idea is that this unique changing torque could exert a new kind of force on these particles.
A force we couldn't apply before.
Potentially, yeah.
Right.
Offering really precise control over how they move, how they arrange themselves.
So maybe like optical tweezers, but on steroids.
That's a good way to think about it. It could lead to much more advanced optical tweezers.
For doing what?
For micromanipulation.
Mm-hmm.
Grabbing, moving, maybe assembling things on a microscopic scale with way more accuracy. Think biology, material science.
Building tiny structures or maybe poking cells?
Could be. It really opens up possibilities for interacting with the micro world.
Now, you mentioned the tech they used. The paper apparently makes a point about how they made it compared to other methods.
Yes, and this is really important for practicality.
Okay.
Previously, getting light to do similar cork-changing tricks often needed, well, big high-intensity lasers.
Right, complex lab setups.
And bulky equipment. The Harvard team did it differently.
How?
They used just a single liquid crystal display like you might find in projectors or TVs, and a standard low-intensity laser beam.
Wow, that sounds much simpler.
Way simpler and much more accessible.
What's the significance of that?
They call it an industry-compatible integrated device. Basically, it lowers the barrier.
Makes it easier for others to use this technique.
Exactly. It means this isn't just stuck in a high-end physics lab. It's potentially something that could be developed into real-world tools and technologies much more readily.
That's crucial for actually getting these discoveries out into the world.
Absolutely. It bridges that gap between fundamental discovery and potential application.
Great. So for anyone listening who wants to dive even deeper, where's the paper?
Okay, the title is Rotatum of Light. Authors are Ahmed H. Dora, Alfonso Palmieri, Lisa Lee, and Federico Capasso.
And it's in Science Advances?
Yep, Science Advances, published April 11th, 2025. If you search the DOI, it's 10.1126 ECIEV.ADR9092.
Perfect. Okay, let's wrap this up. Quick summary. We've got this new light structure, optical rotatum.
With a dynamic changing twist.
Named using ideas from classical physics.
Right, the rate of change of torque.
And it unexpectedly shows patterns linked to the Fibonacci sequence found in nature.
Which is pretty amazing.
And importantly, they created it using relatively accessible tech.
Yeah, an LCD and a low-power laser.
Yeah.
Opens the door for potential uses in manipulating tiny particles.
Like super advanced optical tweezers?
Could be, yeah. It's a fantastic example of basic science leading to potentially powerful new tools.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Really chew on this. We now have this ability, this finer control over the torque of light itself. What could that actually mean? Think about the fields, materials, biology, chemistry, engineering. How might manipulating this fundamental property of light open up completely new tools, new experiments, maybe even whole new areas of discovery we haven't conceived of yet?
It's a new lever to pull, fundamentally.
Exactly. What new doors does controlling light's twist unlock? Something to ponder.